Happy Friday, Browns fans. Welcome into the Browns Report by Chat Sports. My name is Moose, and on today's episode, the final Browns OTAs winners and losers heading into mandatory minicamp. Now, before we start, Aaron Rodgers is officially a Steeler, if you didn't see the breaking news that happened yesterday. But you know what? Who gives a shit? And if you don't care, just like me, do me a favor, like today's video. Show those Steelers fans that we don't give a rat's ass about them. All right, now on to some Browns content for you. Final winners and losers of Browns OTAs. Now, I kind of tried to compile everything, all the winners and all the losers from both weeks. So this is not necessarily about this particular week. It's kind of an amalgamation of both weeks into a couple of lists. So let's start with the positives. I've said multiple times on the show, I'm a positive guy. I want to start with the good news. And our first winner is Shedeur Sanders. There's been no denying that he has been outperforming his draft stock, or where he was actually taken, which was the 5th round. It's clear that he is a much better than 5th round talent, and his talent has been on display and has kind of been as advertised. In fact, there was one particular throw that was mentioned by Sports Illustrated in this last weekend's OTAs, or this last week's OTAs, and they note that Sanders threw a couple of tight window throws after starting off really slow, slipping on a naked bootleg and kind of falling down and taking a sack. But he hit Caden Davis on a skinny post that was in the end zone that was almost a touchdown. And you're probably wondering yourself, well, almost only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades. And you're absolutely right. But the arm talent, the ability to diagnose plays has clearly been on display. And Spencer German, I'm not sure entirely how you say it, noted that there was a couple of really nice throws, including his work in the red zone with 11 on 11. And I think that Shedeur has clearly proven that out of both rookie quarterbacks, he has the most potential to end up starting. And you could disagree with me, you can agree with me, but I think we all can agree that if it's not Flacco starting week 1, there is a clear and decisive, at least right now, that Shedeur will be the number 2 option to go forward in the Browns OT or Browns minicamp. But I should also note that he hasn't been going up against the first teamers quite yet. Majority of the time it's been against the second and the third team players during OTA. So there's a little bit of growth that still obviously has to happen, and there's no pads being played right now, so we can only take off of what they're doing in shorts and t-shirts. But from what we've seen so far, Shedeur has clearly and obviously impressed. Now, like I said, the progression is nice. Does that mean that he's going to be taking over as QB1 week 1? Obviously not. It's a wait-and-see situation. But the good news is that he's learning quickly, and that's been on display. All right, second winner, Quinshon Judkins. Probably one of my biggest winners in this entire list, simply because he's NFL ready. Like day 1, week 1, starting RB1, Quinshon Judkins is ready to make his name known in the NFL. It's not just been the traits that we love and the, consistent strength that he's shown, which we'll touch on here in just a second, but they're talking about his playmaking ability as well. And Sports Illustrated captured it, I thought, perfectly. They talked about one play earlier on in practice where he made this unbelievable cut and bounce on a play outside for a huge gain. He looks like your prototypical NFL running back. He's going to be special, Sports Illustrated notes. And the way that the Browns depth chart, the running back room is currently constructed, Judkins is primed and ready to take over the bulk of the load for this Browns running back room. And a couple of his strengths that I've noticed, not only from his time at Ohio State, but also from, being drafted by the Browns and well into OTAs, is that he's got great patience. He's got explosive burst in the backfield and that consistent strength. All of those things lead you to believe that he has the playmaking ability that you're looking forward to. So I'm really excited to see what he can produce week 1. If you agree with me, let's get going. Like, let's get those woof woofs going down in the comment section down below. I say that a little bit tongue in cheek. But who's your biggest winner from Browns OTAs? Man, that was really corny, Cullen. That was like the corniest thing I may have ever said. Hey, you know what? You got to live and die by the cornball. So that's totally fine. Let me know in the comment section down below who your biggest winner from Browns OTAs was. All right, our third winner, Carson Schwesinger. And I say this because it's not too often that you see a young player of Schwesinger's, nature where they have the ability to take that leadership role and the mental processing of the game comes so quickly. But that is one of his biggest strengths. And Jordan Hicks was talking about Schwesinger and just basically kind of summed it up by saying he's so natural when it comes to his ability to process the game and to identify different run packages, dropping back in coverage, and having a nose for the football. And that's an important trait to have as a linebacker, especially as somebody that could potentially become a signal caller, become the Mike linebacker, Mr. Green Dot. So his diagnosis of offensive plays has been on display. The instincts to swarm around the football has been on display. He's got excellent range and versatility. He can climb up into the box. He can drop back and pass coverage. Everything that you want to see out of a linebacker, he's got. You don't have to have all of these things, by the way, but if you do have all of those traits and all of those tangibles and intangibles, you are looking really, really special. And I think that's been on display as well. So I'm excited about the defense. That's my overarching takeaway from all of these OTAs, especially surrounding the defensive side of the football. I'm excited to see what this unit can produce. The Browns have a really good defense. Offensively, it's a wait-and-see sort of situation. But defensively, I think we can all agree that this is going to be the one bright spot of the Browns in 2025. Okay, Jerry Jeudy is my final winner. And this one feels more like because of the connection that he's made with Joe Flacco. Those two are gelling really, really well. They're actually locker mates, believe it or not. And Jeudy was kind of asked about Flacco and kind of the relationship that has progressed and developed. And he said he's my locker mate. So I've had some great conversations with him, from time to time. A great dude, great quarterback, been in the league for 1 billion years. Understatement of the century. So he understands the game, and I'm excited to have him. Now, Jeudy is one of the winners simply because outside of him, there's a lot of hit and miss. Elijah Moore's gone. So now Jerry Jeudy stands alone as the number one option on this Browns offense. And I think that's kind of right where he wants to be, to prove that he's a number one wide receiver in this league and a good one at that. So one of the things that I look at when I see Jerry Jeudy's talent is he's shown the ability to run routes really well. He's got quick feet at the line of scrimmage, which is awesome to see. I want to see that deep threat. I want to see the long ball connection between him and Flacco if Flacco ends up starting week 1. And another thing that I want to see, you in some sweet Fanatics gear. This Browns Nike tee is 40% off right now. If you go to chatsports.com/Browns Nike tee, you can get sweet Cleveland Browns gear all season long, all summer long, winter, spring. They've got gear and apparel for every single occasion. So if you want to start shopping for this shirt in particular, use this link that I've put in the comments and description of today's video. Shout out to Fanatics. Now we have to unfortunately get into the losers. And remember, this is June, right? So are there really any losers quite yet? No. But there are some players that have caused me a bit of perplexion as to maybe why they did or did not show up or their performance on the field. The first one being Diontae Johnson. And I say that because he was a no-show. It is voluntary. I know that. All the fanboys are going to come at me in the comment section down below and say, it's voluntary. Yeah, I know it's voluntary. But you do realize this guy's on his last leg in the NFL, right? So for a second straight week, Diontae Johnson, noted by Sports Illustrated, was nowhere to be seen at Wednesday's open practice. Now, they are voluntary, but you would think for a player that has such a tumultuous relationship with the prior 3 teams that he was on, that maybe just putting your head down and starting to grind a little bit more would be something that your camp was telling you to do, and yet he wasn't there. Now, I know he's been doing off-season work on his own and trying to gear up for mandatory minicamp, so that's fine, and I'm okay with that. But if you want to start gelling with your young quarterbacks, if you want to start gelling with your new team, and if you want to show that you're worthy of another contract, don't you think you should be on the field? Because the last couple of seasons, 2021 and 2022, he was amazing. Period, point blank. But last year, the dude barely played. Like 12 games played and had so many off-the-field issues with his other teams. It just leads me to believe that this is his last shot. If it doesn't work with the Browns, who's it going to work with? I mean, he's been with the Steelers. He's been with the Texans. He's been with the Ravens. Now he's with the Browns. That's 4 teams in a 12-month span. Teams are going to look at that if it doesn't work out with Cleveland and say, this guy can't work anywhere. He's a cancer to the locker room. So if it were me, and this is just my opinion, if it were me, I'd be shutting my mouth, getting my ass on that field, and grinding my you-know-what off to make sure that they saw how serious I am about becoming the wide receiver 2 for this team. That's just my 2 cents, though. Second loser is Deshaun Watson, and I feel like this one kind of goes without saying, don't you? Deshaun Watson's career is over, you know? Like, the injuries aside, he's had a tumultuous off-the-field issues with all the legal battles and stuff, which we're not going to get into. You guys know exactly what, happened. But his career's over, right? Like, he's getting older. He's not the same player that he once was. And I take no pride in saying that. I don't want to see the downfall of anybody in the NFL. We're all men, right? We want to see each other succeed. I'm all for guys getting their bag and making a great life for themselves. But, when you make mistakes and you're injury-riddled, the writing's on the wall. So he's done in Cleveland. You drafted 2 quarterbacks. You brought in Flacco. You traded for Pickett. Deshaun's QB5, and I don't think he even sniffs the field even once in 2025. That's just my, opinion. Sorry about that if you're a Deshaun Watson fan. My last loser, I kind of wrestled with putting Kenny Pickett on this list, and I'll tell you why I put him as my last loser. Call this kind of like the semi-loser. He kind of lives in purgatory right now between winner and loser. If you notice something, I have him at QB2 right now, and Flacco is QB1. But Gabriel and Sanders are quickly making a name for themselves. And Flacco knows the offense, and the rookies have more potential. We've seen what Kenny Pickett can do. He's a low-tier starter, probably a higher-end bridge quarterback. Somebody that could come in for 5 to 7 games and just get you 2 to 3 wins. He wasn't a first-round pick. That 2022 draft class that he was a part of was awful in terms of quarterback play. And last year with the Eagles, played in 5 games, mid. I mean, completion percentage of 59.5%, only threw for 291 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick, QBR of 86.5. He's very mid. That's kind of the overarching umbrella, and I'm pretty sure everybody would tell you the exact same opinion as me, is he's just one of those guys that is in the quarterback room. And I don't understand why the Browns traded for him, but that's just because I don't think he's that great of a player. Now, I will say this. There is one bright spot, at least as a Browns fan, that you could kind of look at Kenny Pickett as right now. Is he a potential trade candidate? If Flacco gets the starting job, Shedeur becomes QB2 or Dylan Gabriel becomes QB2. Is there a market for Kenny Pickett? And I think the Browns have shown, yeah, there is. You might get a 5th or a 6th round pick, but you could probably end up trading Pickett and getting at least some sort of draft capital, which is always nice, especially if a player that you traded for won't end up seeing the field. And that's what I think is going to end up happening. I don't think Pickett wins the QB1 job, and I honestly don't think he wins the QB2 job. That's going to do it for us on today's episode. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Like I said, I've had a ton of fun hosting the Browns Report for this last week. Remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't, and as always, be cool.